welcome back to the channel. Of course, welcome to my home. We are in a different location today. We are sat at my kitchen island, and I just thought I would come and do a live stream. It's been a very, very, very long time since I have done a live stream. Before we continue, for those of you that are dropping in, can we just do a sound check and see if you can hear me correctly? I do have my little microphone in, so I'm hoping that it's in the right place, that you can all hear me, but it's not too clunky or anything of that nature. So the idea behind this chat is just for a casual drop-in session where you can ask me my opinion, or you can tap into my royal knowledge about sort of anything that you want to. But we're just going to have a good time. We're going to have a very conversational chat. I don't have any planned topics that I'm going to talk about. Maybe one. Maybe I kind of have one planned topic. But anyway, let's kind of get into it. So I can see a few people dropping in. D20 says the sound is good. That's good. And Sheila Hall says, I hear you. Brilliant. Also, I'm testing out how I can live stream from the ship. So I'm reading the comments off the laptop in front of me, but when I'm on the ship, I'm not taking my laptop. Of course, if you didn't know, I'm going on holiday in a week. We're going on a 2-week cruise, and I do plan to live stream from the ship or upload videos. So I'm trying different ways of setting it up so that I can do that from the ship. I'm not taking my laptop. So if I do live stream from holiday, I will either be using another little handheld device to read the comments, or I'll be trying to see them on the screen. But either way, I'll either do some pre-recorded videos from holiday, or I will pop on and do a live stream, whatever is easier. I know the Wi-Fi is good from the ship because the last time I was on holiday, it was when Queen Elizabeth passed away. We were actually in Key West. I remember coming, we just enjoyed a fabulous day in Key West. We came back on the ship, and then I looked at my phone and I got the awful news that Her late Majesty had passed away. So luckily, I had brought a black t-shirt with me just in case. Popped on the black t-shirt and I went and did a live stream from the ship. And I had no idea if it would live stream, if it would buffer. It was perfect. It was perfect internet. So fingers crossed, if I need to do a live stream when we're on holiday, I'll be able to do so. Okay, let's have a little. I was trying to zoom in a little bit. Lemon Drop says good afternoon. Mazza says make sure you take time to enjoy your holiday. Oh, we will. We are away for 2 weeks, so we are definitely going to be enjoying our holiday. If you didn't know, I also have a property, lifestyle, and travel channel called Elliot and Matt. Matt is my fiance, and I will be cruise vlogging the entire holiday from the minute we leave the house till the minute we get back in through the door. Everything will be documented. So check out my other channel, Elliot and Matt, and you will be able to follow the whole journey. I won't start posting videos until I'm back, but I will also be posting reels and stories on Instagram. So again, Elliot and Matt on Instagram. Follow us there and you'll get previews and pictures and all sorts of things as they happen. Hello to Sonia, who says, oh wow, it must be late over there. It's 8:40 a.m. here in New Zealand. Haven't caught you live in years. It's been a while. It's been a hot moment. It is actually 20 to 8 p.m. here in the UK. Also, I am thinking about bringing back my weekly Talk of the Crown, kind of day undecided. It will be obviously be back when I'm back on. I'm trying to tilt my glasses because look, you get glare. If I tilt them under the tiara, I know it looks weird from the side, but then you'll be able to not have the glare. Believe it or not, these are anti-glare glasses. Go figure. Anyway, so yeah, I am thinking of bringing back my weekly Talk of the Crown. If you didn't know, I was the first person here on YouTube to ever do a podcast or a weekly live chat about the royal family. I was the first before all the professional ones or anyone else did one. I was the OG. So I am thinking of bringing back Talk of the Crown. But like I say, I don't know what date or what day I want to do it. And I was thinking a Friday would be good, or maybe a Saturday. The only problem with Saturday is if I'm out, then it could be a bit choppy, a bit dicey with that. Sam R says, just popping in, Happy New Year. Have a great stream and a wonderful holiday. If you didn't catch my last video, Happy New Year to you too. And I hope it's going to be a fabulous one for all of us. Rachel says it's okay if you don't post anything while on holiday. It's your holiday, you should enjoy it. Don't worry. I wasn't planning on doing like, a massive amount. I certainly wouldn't be doing all the editing. What I planned to do was when Matt, my fiance, is in the shower, I was going to pop out on the balcony, show you where we were today, and then pick a story that I'd already read about and then give my opinion on it. So I was really only kind of planning on doing 5-10 minutes a day. And then after about every 3 days, putting out a video. That was what my plan was. So don't worry, I won't be sat there in the cruise cabin whilst everything is going on working. That's not going to happen. So so yeah, I was thinking of putting a video out every third day of what's going on, basically. Lisa says, greetings from Tampa, Florida. Hello. I will not be a million miles. Yeah, no, I'm not too far. The Caribbean's not too far from Florida, is it? No, not if I've got my bearing. I'm thinking of LA. LA's on the other side, isn't it? Meza says, sounds great. I'll check that out. Lisa says, I love your shows. Thank you. Keep the compliments coming. We do love a compliment. Also, I've got my my tea today as well. Susan says, greetings from Southern Ontario. I'd love to visit Canada. Thank you for your holiday wishes. Pam says, wow, we're live, not normally online this time of day. No, Matt's gone to play squash. Normally, I would go swimming as well with him while he plays squash with friends. But I've got so much to do, and I've already done lots before I've come on live. So I thought I would stay behind today and talk to everyone and get all sorts of jobs done. You know what it's like, my lovies, when you're getting ready and preparing for a holiday, especially a long holiday. You've got to get all the house sorted because we've got Matt's parents coming to cat sit and house sit. So I've got to go through all the drawers. I'm not that sort of woman. I'm not that sort of woman to leave the house in a complete state whilst people come in. I like the house to be like an Airbnb when if anyone comes to stay. So I'm going through drawers, I'm sorting things out, I'm tidying up, I'm moving tiaras, so that they're not in the way. Wigs are flying everywhere. My goodness. Sheila says leap years are supposed to be lucky. Oh yes, it's a leap year, isn't it? To get married in. Any wedding plans? Well, I did say this chat was any questions, so if you've got any royal questions, get them in. But I'm happy to answer personal questions as well. Yes, the wedding is we've been engaged for, I think this year it will be 3 years that we've been engaged. So it's been a long time. If you didn't know, here's my ring. Here's my ring. So we've been putting it off because we've been so busy with life, getting the house, buying the house, renovating the house, settling in, Matt changing job, just being really, really busy. And then lots of other things have kind of crept in as well. So we've just been busy. That is the fact of it. But my ideal wedding venue is royal related because I have been kind of planning my own little royal wedding. Well, I say my own. Of course, it's our royal wedding. So you can actually hire out the Windsor Guildhall. The Windsor Guildhall is where Charles and Camilla got married, got legally married. Of course, they had their blessing in St George's Chapel, but where they legally got married was Windsor Guildhall. And also Elton John and David Furnish got married there as well. So I think I'd be in very good company. And believe it or not, you can rent it out. And it's not even expensive. The good news is, I think it was about little over £1,000 for the room hire. The same room that Charles and Camilla got married in, I might add. I'd be standing in the same spot. And then you can have the reception in the hotel across the street, which looks absolutely lovely. And you can hire a carriage for I think about 150, a horse and carriage to take you up and through Windsor, up and down the long walk, the same route that Harry and Meghan, let's not mention them too much, but you can go the same route that Harry and Meghan went. So basically, we can have our own royal wedding for not that much money. So that would be my ideal plan, but I just don't know when is the thing. We just need to get it planned and done. I don't want a particularly big wedding, so hold off on the press. I mean, the press can be informed if they want to be there and they want to start papping me. That's absolutely fine. I mean, I suppose I'll have to take it. But, but no, it'll be a small family. What they call a micro wedding, I think, is probably what we're looking for. But we shall see. We shall see. Um, and I'll be vlogging that as well. Oban Scott says hi. K2003, I remember the year well, says, will your channel be more positive instead of bashing Harry and Meghan almost daily? I talk about what is going on or what people are talking about at any given time. So if Harry and Meghan have done something that warrants people talking about them, then I will be talking about it. And I don't think I necessarily bash Harry and Meghan. My responses towards Harry and Meghan are based on their actions, their deeds, what they say, what they do at any given time. So if it's negative news about them, then it's because they've done something that's negative, like bashing their family. I mean, if anyone's bashing, Harry and Meghan have been bashing Harry's family, definitely for sure. Um, so yes, that is my kind of stance on that. Pam says it's about 8:45 in New Zealand. Um, Anom says, when Archie and Lilibet are older on legal documents, can they list their occupation as Prince and Princess of the United Kingdom, like William, Harry, Kate, and Meghan have done before? Um, it would be very tenuous for them to list their occupation as Prince and Princess. They are a Prince and Princess of the United Kingdom, regardless of how many times they've stepped foot uh, in the UK. That does not matter. Where they reside, they still have those styles and titles. They are entitled to them under the George V Convention. That has not been altered by King Charles III. It could be altered by King Charles III. That's not out of the realm of possibility. But for now, the George V Convention stands. That is what King Charles III has allowed to happen and to roll out, and it wasn't amended or sort of preempted by Queen Elizabeth II before her death to kind of reform anything. So we can presume that King Charles III and Queen Elizabeth, the late Queen Elizabeth II, wanted what was in the current provision for the George V Convention to roll out past or post Queen Elizabeth II's death and during King Charles III's accession, which again kind of baffles people as to why Harry and Meghan got it in their heads that the Queen or King Charles didn't want Lilibet and Archie to have the Prince and Princess and HRH styles and titles because it was already in that provision that was not changed, and that was it wasn't changed even after Harry and Meghan stepped back. But to go back to your question about can they list it, I think they can list it as their profession, but they'd be very unwise too because it would get quite a lot of mockery, I think, in the media and online because, of course, they've hardly ever been here, yet alone being listing their occupation as it. But in terms of listing their style and title, that has got to be HRH and Prince and Princess. On formal legal documents, I wouldn't advise putting it on there They're American school textbooks. Can you imagine? But no, whatever job or role they end up doing, if they're an artist or a property developer or whatever it might be, that is the occupation that they should really put on their legal forms. Lemon Drop, I like the name, says this is a great time of year to go to the Caribbean. Have a wonderful trip. I'm hoping it's not going to be too humid. I went last time in September, not this September, the September before. By the way, don't go thinking we have these lavish Caribbean holidays every single year. We did not have a holiday last year. So last time we went on holiday, in fact, our first time away together as a couple was in September of 2022. And it was humid as anything. We sailed from Miami. So I'm hoping it's not going to be as humid. Rhonda says, hello from Central California, 11:45 here. And you enjoy my channels. Thank you. ATC says, please keep telling us the truth about Harry and Meghan. I will endeavour to do so. I have always endeavoured to do so since, since I've been covering royal news since 2015. So obviously, I have chronicled Meghan's sort of journey into the family, the relationship ever since it began. And I've always endeavoured to tell the truth. And that is what I am continuing to do. But as with royal watching, past, present, and future, a lot of it is dealing with speculation and sources. We all know about the sources say this, sources say that. So there is, with royal commentary, which is what I do, there is a certain amount of dealing with speculation. So hopefully what I always try to do is say when something is source quoted as opposed to something that we actually know is a fact. And I think some people online have cotton wool or stuffed in their ears because they misinterpret what people say and they take what people's opinions are as fact. And there are a lot of people spewing out their opinions, presenting it as fact. I try my very best not to do that. If something is speculative, I always try to point out that it is from a source or that it may or may not be true. But if people are talking about it, then it's a story worth talking about and discussing all the different options around it, which is what I try to do. Stumpy Shine, I like the name, says, don't rush with the wedding. I've been engaged for 30 years. Well, I'm hoping it's not going to be 30 years. I'll be 70. Will I be 70? Yes, 40, 50. I will be, I'm doing some girl maths in my head. I will be 70. So I don't really want to wait until I'm 70 to get married. Let's have a look. Anomalous. No, hang on a minute. I've skipped. Let's have a look. Says, do you think King Charles will bestow his royal family order on Princess Charlotte and Princess Elizabeth when they are young as their precedent set by King George V? Well, we haven't even got the family order for the main royals yet. So, so let's not jump the gun for Prince George and Princess Charlotte. I think once the actual King Charles III royal family order has been unveiled, I'm hoping it's going to be this year at some sort of state banquet in the future. But I think Princess Charlotte and Prince George and Prince Louis will get it when they're a little bit more adult, I think, because I don't think there will be an occasion to wear it that they would attend until they are older. So even if they are given it in private, which they might be given it in private, I don't think we will see it in terms of actually seeing it being worn until they are adult and they are attending an occasion when the royal family order would be worn. I hope that answers your question. Oh, what will we wear for the wedding? I don't know. Maybe a really nice Mark Darcy suit. Anomalous says, why do you think there is less emphasis for female line descendants such as Princess Mary's, Princess Margaret's, and Princess Anne's children to lead private lives? What do you mean less emphasis? Do you mean that they have more freedom via the female line? I think that's what you're saying. It's because of male primogeniture, which is very outdated. And of course, in the line of succession, that has been done away with in terms of the line of succession, because now Prince Louis does not leapfrog Princess Charlotte. So the female line, the female in terms of being in the line of succession is now very modern. But in terms of inheriting styles and titles, that is still as it was. So Princess Charlotte, if and when she has children, I don't want to put that on her. She might not want to have children, but if and when, let's presume, let's live in a world where, she's in her 30s and she's got children. Those children, under the current provision, would not have styles and titles in the same way that Princess Anne's didn't. Now, whether or not King Charles III or King William, when he is king, wants to change that, is entirely up to them. But currently, as it stands, no, they would not have styles and titles through the female line, which would give them more freedom to be able to, go and do whatever they wanted to do. Very much in the way that Peter Phillips and Zara Phillips, now Zara Tindall, have done through their lives. But navigating life technically as a member of the royal family in the line of succession without styles and titles is difficult to navigate. Sometimes you may feel like you're in between a rock and a hard place. Things that you do, things that you say, jobs that you take on are still scrutinized. And the one thing that Zara and Peter have done, navigated really well, including Beatrice and Eugenie as well. I know they have titles, but one thing that they have done very well is not bringing the royal family into disrepute. There was a little scandal with Peter with a milk advert, I seem to recall, that where he seemed to lean slightly on his royal connections. He was appropriately shot down and hasn't done it since. So, when you kind of step out, you put a little foot out of what's expected of you, you get kind of slapped down. So you have to be careful. But on the whole, they have not done, elaborate Oprah interviews, expose books. They haven't done that kind of thing. So it's a fine line to navigate when you're sort of in the royal fold, but not necessarily in the midst of it. If you're a key player in it. So yes, there is a lot more freedom for female line descendants. How many guests is a micro wedding? I mean, basically, we were thinking parents and Matt's grandparents. So yeah, that is classed as, in my mind, a micro wedding. Anomalous says, do you think Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet will ever use or be addressed as HRH in public in announcements, for example, ever again during their lifetime? That's a big scope. We never know what's going to happen in the future. Again, this is a sort of conversation that is speculation. So we are speculating. But what we can do is use what we currently know. So they have the titles. We know that Harry and Meghan agreed to not formally use them as part of the Sandringham Summit and the Sandringham Agreement. They agreed not to use those titles in public for work, but they can use them on private legal documents, unless Harry and Meghan are somehow reunited with the family and taken back in, and there's this kind of, you know, white dove coming in with an olive branch, and everything is settled and sorted, which I can't see happening yet. I can't see that at the moment. That's not to say that won't happen, but presently, the way that things are, if that were to continue into the future, then I can't see it. I think there would have to be a lot of changes made from both sides for that to kind of work. So no, I don't think they will. I don't think they'll use it in announcements unless circumstances change. I have new socks. Says Olaf from Virginia. Been watching for years. Thank you. Hello, and I love your name. I have new socks. I do love socks. I like them to match my outfits. In fact, my sock today matches my outfit. Look, it's blue. There we go. I couldn't find the exact shade, but it's blue. So I do like them to match. Meza says Rachel, I think we mean Meghan, said on the Fopra interview, Archie wasn't going to be given a title because of concerns about how dark his skin colour would be. Well, we know what was said in Oprah, and we now know, now that King Charles is king, what's happened. So what we know is that what they were kind of pertaining to in the Oprah interview, or alluding to in the Oprah interview, wasn't what happened. And we also know that rules were not changed during that time. So somebody got the wrong end of the stick and was trying to convince other people that it meant something else. Um, they shall remain nameless, but I think we all know who was trying to misconstrue and mislead people. So, as I spoke about before, we know that the current George V convention was standing, it hadn't been altered, and that in due course, when King Charles III ascended to the throne, that Archie and Lilibet would be entitled to use HRH and Prince and Princess of the United Kingdom, should Harry and Meghan wish to adopt it for them, because obviously they are underage, so they can't choose for themselves, but the parents can. Very much in the same way that the now Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh chose when Lady Louise and James Viscount Severn, who is now Earl of Wessex, I keep forgetting, he's now Earl of Wessex. When they were young, they chose not to adopt the HRH and Prince and Princess, but it is still up to the Earl of Wessex and Lady Louise to take that on should they wish to. All they simply have to do, there's not a big palaver, they haven't got to sign documents, they haven't got to wait for an offer from King Charles. All they've got to do is simply start using what they are entitled to, which is what Harry and Meghan did. Harry and Meghan just announced that they were going to start using it. The palace then had to react and change all the website and everything as we saw unfold. So the truth always outs, is what I'm going to say for that one. Uh, Anomalous says, why do you think Prince Harry and Meghan were told to stop using their HRH titles? Yes, they are not working royals, but other non-working royals such as Beatrice and Eugenie still use theirs in public. Because I would imagine, now again, this is what Harry and Meghan said versus what we know happened. So Harry and Meghan sort of said that they didn't have any plans for what they wanted to do work-wise post stepping back. But yet we know that they were recording things on their phones. We think that they'd already had conversations with Spotify and Netflix. So I think that, okay, let's pretend that we're in the Sandringham Summit and I'm King Charles, then Prince of Wales. And I say to Harry, okay, so you're going to step back, you're going to be financially independent. How do you plan to do that? What do you plan to do? And then Harry turns around and says, well, I'm going to do Spotify, I'm going to do Netflix, I'm going to do Oprah, I'm going to do all these like high profile things. And then the Queen and the Prince of Wales turn around to him and say, well, hang on a minute. No, you're not going to use your titles to do Oprah and to do all these things. That's not kind of low key. And what you've got to remember with Beatrice and Eugenie, what have they done work-wise that is high profile? Have they done Oprah? Have they done a Spotify deal? Have they got a Netflix reality docu-series, chronicling their life? No. What they do is work privately. Their husbands have low-key businesses. Prince Michael of Kent has a low-key consultancy business. The work that they do when they've got titles is low-key, under the radar, does not bring attention. Harry and Meghan wanted attention. That was how they were going to make their money, and they must have indicated that to the Queen and the Prince of Wales and Prince William at the time of the Sandringham Summit. So, what they planned to do made it impossible for them to use their titles, which is why they cannot use it and the others can. A lot of people cry and scream double standards when actually the situation has to be exactly the same for it to be a double standard. Harry and Meghan were kind of trying to set their own standard, what they were trying to do. And that did not fit with titled royals that still have HRHs. That didn't fit with what other royals do. So the situation is different. Lemon drop is Floridian, and it's the best time for travel. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Sarah McDonald says, hello from Santa Barbara County, north of Snake Mountain. Well, I definitely wouldn't want to visit Snake Mountain. Thank you for enjoying the program. I'm hoping I'm not skipping any comments. Alfred says, a very long name, Alfred, but you say, hello from Hollywood, Florida, USA. Love your channel. Thank you so much. And I will enjoy my holiday. Christine says, hello. Hello, Christine. I have new socks on, says, history lover and genealogist 45 plus years. Appreciate your coverage. You're very respectful of your subject. I've always enjoyed the royal family, and I have my whole life of knowledge that I've been watching programs, reading books, being very interested in what's gone on in the newspapers. I remember everything that's gone on. I've got a very good memory. I'm 40 years old, but I still remember a lot of what. I mean, I was born in 1983, so but I remember a lot from the 80s. I remember, I mean, I could read quite early on. So I remember reading all the headlines in newspapers. It's because I was nosy. It's because I was nosy. So I learned to read really early because I was so nosy that I wanted to know what was going on. So I remember I used to watch the news. I used to read papers, read the headlines anyway. I could understand the headlines. So I could see all the headlines about Princess Diana and the Camilla Gate and the Fergie toe sucking and all the rest of it. So I do have a very good working recollection of things that have gone on in the modern royal family. G. Benson says, early days because she is not a blood royal. Do you have an insight? I've lost your thread of comment there. So I'm not entirely sure what you are referring to. But please comment again. Rebecca says, you are truly the original source of royal insights. I am the OG, as they say. What is it? Is it original goat? I don't know why I'm a goat. I don't think I want to be a goat. Hello, Katie from Chicago. Rebecca says, I would give anything to see you sitting on your floor near the fireplace wearing a tiara, of course. I used to. I did used to sit on the floor by the fireplace, and I did used to wear my tiara. I've worn them for years and years and years and years. Yes, the good old days. Alfred says, I love your crown. And it's a tiara. The difference between a crown and a tiara, well, tiara, they are kind of half, basically. A crown is something that is like a proper part of a royal regalia. This is a replica of the honeycomb or Grevel tiara. And it's a half. So a tiara is more for kind of, a crown is more for kind of, crowning moments, or state openings of parliament, that kind of thing. Whereas a tiara is more what you'd wear for lunch, not for lunch, for kind of a white tie and tiara occasion. Although if you want to wear one to the supermarket, then please feel free and take pictures and send them to me. Harry uses HRH in court. Yes, that is the sort of legal setting where he is permitted to use his HRH. And that is part of the Sandringham Agreement. Linda says, hello. I'm very happy to catch a live. Hello to you. I have new socks on. Says, honestly, I would love if Harry came back. No disrespect to anyone, but he cannot help being put into a spell. Has anyone seen The Little Mermaid? It's one of my favourite songs, favourite films. Do you remember the scene where Ursula, as Vanessa, is walking on the beach? Ursula's just transformed into Vanessa, and then the spell comes from her seashell and it goes and it enchants the prince's eyes. And Prince Eric thinks that she's the best thing since sliced bread. And there she is, all smug on his shoulder, going, and then she's in the ship and she goes, what a dear what a lovely little dear, I'll make my dear, I'll look divine. Things are working out according to my ultimate design. Soon I'll have that little mermaid and the ocean will be mine. And then she throws the pin into the mirror and it goes, bing! I love that film. Yes, so maybe that is the kind of spell. Maybe Meghan is the sea witch in disguise. Who knows? And that is speculation. James Med4, hello, says the York princesses have been picked on by the media because of their parents. And Elliot, you are so right. They have done nothing and remained loyal to the Queen. They have. I mean, I know people are saying about Princess Eugenie, does she have some kind of allegiance to Harry and Meghan? They certainly seem to have remained in touch. And I think, like I say, when you are kind of, I think Beatrice and Eugenie kind of see themselves as kind of in the middle a little bit. And they've always been a little bit kind of, in the middle between a rock and a hard place when it comes to navigating life. But the one thing that Andrew and Sarah have done well in their life is raised two really dutiful, amazing young women as they are. I mean, I still think of them as little girls. I remember when they were born, and I mean, they're what, about 8 years younger than me, that kind of thing. So I remember when they were born. So to me, I've watched them grow up, and Andrew and Sarah, although they've made their mistakes in life, they have raised two really amazing daughters. Mags G says, hello from Johannesburg, South Africa. Enjoy your channel, and I love all things royal. Hello. Hello to Sun Girl, is that? From New York. Hello. Kimberly says, I love your explanations. You are obviously knowledgeable on the subject of the royal family. You are clear and succinct. I try to be, because things like styles and titles and all that kind of thing can be very complex. And sometimes if you're reading, letters patent, or the George V Convention, things can be quite worded very old fashioned, and it can be very complicated, and people can kind of get things very mixed up. So I try my best to explain things that can be quite complicated in that kind of way that anyone can understand it. Noreen says, Happy New Year to you and everyone watching. Hello and Happy New Year. Um, C. Benson says Beatrice and Eugenie were cruel to Catherine in the early days because she is not a blood royal. Right, I'm with you. I hadn't heard that Beatrice and Eugenie had been mean to Catherine in the early days. So please let me know where you heard that from, because that's not something that I am familiar with. So normally, if I'm not familiar with something, that puts a really big question mark in my mind as to where it's come from. Is it something that someone's just spewed out on social media? We have to be very careful again that people trying to be mischievous, or people not understanding something, or people having read something and then, a bit like those whispers where things get passed down and then eventually it gets spewed out on social media and then shared a million times and then suddenly it's the truth. Well, that to me, I've not really heard. And of course, Prince William and Prince Harry, I mean, they could have remained bachelors all their life, but the likelihood is that they would marry at some point and have families. So Beatrice and Eugenie would have known that the likelihood of William and Harry marrying ordinary people was going to be quite high, seeing as the pool of available, blue-blooded aristocracy is, a fairly narrow. And gone are the days when there would be these sort of advantageous matches or marriages of convenience where foreign princesses would be brought in to marry princes. Those days are gone. Um, and thankfully, people are allowed to marry for love these days. So I don't see that there would be anything about Beatrice and usually being cruel to Catherine because she was a commoner, if you like. Um, I just can't see that myself. Meza says, I think Rachel is a lot like Ursula. Well, it's all the tentacles, isn't it, my loves? Heather says, you are live. Greetings from Tasmania, Australia. I can remember you broadcasting while sitting on the floor in your other house. I did. I used to sit on my floor. Couldn't afford a chair. Sun Girl says, any links cited for simulated Granny's chips? Oh, my brooch. I do have a replica Granny's Chips Cullinan diamond brooch. I'm always on the lookout for royal replica jewelry. In fact, I do have I'm going to give you a little bit of a heads up. On the 13th, look of this month, there will be a video dropping that I've pre-recorded. So if you see a Christmas tree in the background, it's because it was recorded in December. Um, Going live, I have a brand new piece of royal replica jewelry. It is incredible. It is exquisite. It is the best royal replica piece of jewelry that I have ever seen. It is available for sale, and I have linked it. So do go. That video will be dropping. I can't remember what time I've set it to go live, but it will drop on the 13th. So that is the day after we fly. So I will be in San Juan in Puerto Rico, and it will drop. So yes, look out for that one. It is stunning. So I do an unboxing in the video, and I show it you, and then I do a little bit of history about the piece. So if you're into royal jewels, look out for that one. Um, S. Stafford says, can't wait for Catherine's birthday. I do love a good birthday. Um, and bet Meghan and Harry will do something though. Well, that is the normal form, isn't it? Normally, some kind of family occasion, personal or private or whatever, comes up, and then we hear some. They've been very quiet over Christmas. Have the snakes in Snake Mountain. So I'm expecting something soon. Let's put it that way. Shall we take bets on when something will appear? Maybe it will be Catherine's birthday. But no, they have been very quiet over the festive period. Maybe they went into their stockings above their fireplace in Snake Mountain. They put in their hands and they retrieved lumps of coal for being very, very bad this year. Yes, I think so. And then I think I've managed to get down all of the comments. So yes, I will continue being live for as long as you're asking me questions um, and talking to me. So do make sure you talk to me. We have 145 people watching now, and apparently I've been yakking at you for 43 minutes. So I do apologise if you've been listening for this long. Blessed Crazy Life says your crown is magnificent. Tiara, it's a tiara, dear. And this is one of my favorites. I was asked a question about, what's my favorite tiara. One of the favorites that I own is the replica Grevel tiara or honeycomb, because it does look a little bit like a honeycomb. So it is from the Grevel bequest. If you did not know, there was a lady called Mrs. Grevel, and this is when the Queen Mother was Queen Consort. When George VI was on the throne, Mrs. Grevel passed away, and she left a box of her jewels in her will addressed to the Queen Consort. So here comes this box, it arrives, and you can just imagine the Queen Mother opening this sort of wooden box, and in it are this array of jewels, diamonds, sapphires, emeralds, everything. She had an amazing jewelry collection, some of which we are only seeing examples of now on Queen Camilla, because the Queen Mother and the Queen Elizabeth II didn't wear everything. But this is one thing that they did wear. It was actually a different tiara that was remodeled. So the diamonds were used and this was kind of reconstructed. This is a Queen Mother special tiara, but it was made from diamonds that were from the Grevel bequest, if you like. Which brings me to another one of my favourite royal jewellery collectors. I know I'm not talking Queen Mary. Queen Mary, the late Queen's grandmother, was a fabulous jewellery collector. But the person that I am getting really into in terms of jewellery is actually the Duchess of Windsor. Yes, I know the similarities between those that reside at Snake Mountain, but in terms of jewelry, she was. I'm only just really beginning to appreciate the Duchess of Windsor's jewels. They were exquisite. You know, Cartier, Van Cleef, all these amazing jewels were either purchased or used from the royal family collection when Edward VIII abdicated. He took a lot of jewels with him. That amazing panther brooch, that flamingo. And the Duchess of Windsor didn't really wear tiaras. There was a few headpieces, a few head jewelry pieces that she wore, but she was more about the brooches, the necklaces, the armbands, the bracelets, just exquisite jewels, very trendy, very of the time. Um, and she liked jewels that kind of represented animals or that kind of thing. And I'm really getting into the Duchess of Windsor's jewelry collection. So that brings me to the Grevel. There is a point in me talking about her. So my point is that we know about the Grevel bequest, about Mrs. Grevel, because she left all of her jewels to the crown, which means that whenever a piece is brought out, it's known as the Grevel this or the Grevel that. So we remember her. I think, seeing as a great deal of the Duchess of Windsor's jewelry collection actually came from the royal family anyway, it was just kind of repurposed and remodeled for her. I think her jewelry collection should have been left at the time to Prince Charles, as he was then, to be used by Diana, and then obviously would have been used by Camilla later. I think that would have ensured, in, from the Duchess of Windsor's perspective, that even though she was never given an HRH in life, that her memory would live on in forms of successive queen consorts, queen regnants, princess of Waleses using and wearing her jewelry, having her name, this brooch being known as the Windsor this or the Windsor that. It would have ensured that her legacy, I mean, obviously we all know about Wallis Simpson, so she's not going to be forgotten, but in terms of jewelry being worn on royal occasions, I think it would have been remarkable to have left the jewelry collection to Charles. I'm just saying what I said. There you go. Blessed Crazy Life says, I've read that one. Sonia Boyce says, Bradford Exchange had a replica of Diana's sapphire and pearl choker last year. There are some that you can find replicas to buy. They are few and far between. Some of them are quite expensive. But to be an original Diana choker replica, it has to have 7 strands of pearls. I've seen many replicas that only have 3 or 4 strands. No, it has to have 7 strands of pearls. C. Benson says, thank you, this was great fun. Thank you. H.A. Bracken says, I love the old days when you were in your kitchen and showed some stuff from your royal collection. I've been here almost from the beginning. You've been watching a very long time. It is my 8-year anniversary on YouTube this year. And like I say, in 2 years' time, I will be having my 10-year Jubilee. Now, I know Jubilees don't normally start until 25 years, but I can't wait 25 years. So I'm going to have my own 10-year on YouTube Jubilee when it gets here. DizFan9212 says, not criticising Her Late Majesty, but I wish he had acted sooner on Andrew and Harry and Meghan rather than leaving it up to Charles. I wasn't a fan of the Yorks at the Sandringham Christmas walkabout. Okay, let's dissect your comments. So I think what Her Late Majesty did with Harry and Meghan and Andrew was appropriate for the time in which they were going through. Let's start with Andrew. So by effectively, removing his HRH from everyday usage, from removing his military titles, stripping him of being a working royal, I think that was appropriate. What more could she really have done apart from maybe take away his prince style and title? But then that would fall into the realm of going down the kind of public opinion, sort of trial by public opinion. And we have to remember that whatever we think about what Prince Andrew has done in the past, whether he's guilty, not guilty, done it, not done it, let's just park that issue for a moment. What we do know is that he hasn't been formally charged with anything. So the Queen had to play it. She had to play it very straight and narrow. She had to deal with it whilst also recognizing that there was no formal charges or convictions brought against Andrew. So I think that she navigated it really, really well. And we are still seeing the repercussions of Her Late Majesty's decisions now. King Charles is continuing that path. Andrew cannot still use the HRH, still has it, but can't use it. Andrew is not a working royal. He can appear at family occasions, but not state occasions, cannot work for the royal family or represent the royal family at home or abroad. He doesn't have his military appointments, and on occasions like Order of the Garter, he's not seen. So, in terms of the royal family distancing themselves from Andrew, they have done so. And I know that there's been a lot of talk about Royal Lodge, where Andrew lives with Sarah, and will or will not King Charles take it away from him? Will he be evicted? And my position on this is exactly the same as it always has been. Andrew bought a lease. He bought a lease for 75 years. He paid money to have it, to have Royal Lodge refurbished. And under British law, you cannot just chuck someone out if they have a lease. If they break the terms of the lease, then you have a chance to evict. So what we don't know is, under the terms of the lease, is there a clause that says that he has to maintain Royal Lodge to a certain standard of repair, or else he breaks the terms of the lease. Now we know that Royal Lodge does need some repairs. It has had some repairs. I was at Windsor early last year, February last year, and there was scaffolding up at Royal Lodge. I could see it. So I know that work has been carried out. What we don't know as well is whether or not Andrew has the money to keep up with the maintenance of the property. So my own opinion is that Andrew would probably benefit from moving from Royal Lodge into accommodation that is smaller, easier to manage. I sort of thought maybe Wood Farm on the Sandringham estate might be a good move. But I believe that it's up to Andrew. If Andrew wants to stay and Andrew can afford to stay, then Andrew will stay. If Andrew can't, basically, it's a case of show us your money. He's either got the money to live there or he hasn't. And I don't think that the king can kind of force his hand in that matter. What is the saying? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And I think King Charles has been very pragmatic in the fact that, perhaps knowing that Andrew might not be able to afford the property long term, therefore offering an alternative is actually quite a brotherly suggestion. Of course, we believe that the king, you know, promised his mother that he would look after Andrew. I think that is Charles looking after Andrew, trying to lead him down the path of, well, actually, you probably can't afford. If you can afford Royal Lodge now, maybe you can't in 2 years' time. Therefore, why get your knickers in a twist and just move somewhere smaller, Frogmore Cottage or whatever it might be. So I think with regards to Royal Lodge, the ball is in Andrew's court at the moment, and that entirely is based on how much money he has to stay living there. With regards to Harry and Meghan, I feel that Her late Majesty dealt with them appropriately at the time because we didn't know exactly what they were going to do. Her Majesty even gave them that year cooling off period, which they then, by that point, Harry and Meghan knew that they were going to lose royal protection. They knew they weren't going to be funded by Daddy anymore, and they still continued the path in which they're on now. So I think Her late Majesty dealt with them appropriately. The question is, how much more can King Charles take of the behaviour? We've seen from Harry and Meghan, at least PR, in terms of PR, little whispers that they want to join the family for Christmas and they'd be open to this and open to that and let bygones be bygones, blah, blah, blah. I'm not buying it. I think when push comes to shove and the money runs dry, we all know what's happening with Archewell, with donations, literally hitting the skids. I think they will revert to type and do things that are going to trash the royal family to make money. So they thought they could go it alone. They thought they could be independent, blah, blah, blah. Well, let's see. Let's see what happens this year, what they revert to, and then we'll see what King Charles's reaction is. But I think that Queen Elizabeth II's, how she dealt with Andrew and Harry and Meghan was appropriate for that time. Let's have a look. Brian Preston says Happy New Year. Hello. Happy New Year to Pam Johnson too. Michelle says, hey everyone. Blessed Crazy Life says, thank you for sharing about your tiara. It's breathtaking. Thank you very much. Carissa says, came in late. I love jewelry talk though. And Happy New Year. Sun Girl says, you have the Lover's Knot tiara replica. Love the Spencer's tiara and late Queen Elizabeth II wedding tiara. I love any sort of fringe tiara. Would love to get your sequined flapper dress and wear that tiara as a necklace. Oh, I would love a little sequin. Anything feathers. I love feathered frocks. There you go. Stumpy Shine says, I think the Duchess of Windsor had one tiara that it wasn't really it was more of a headband. I looked up about what she wore in her hair. It wasn't quite a tiara. It was more of a headband with jewels on. Um, I will make a video on it at some point, but yeah, she didn't really wear a tiara. Um, More of a headband type thing. I would say it was. Tabia says, at what age might Princess Charlotte start wearing tiaras? I mean, it depends what event she go to. She would go to where she would need to wear one. I mean, if she was taken somewhere appropriate to wear one at 15 or 16, then maybe the Cartier Halo tiara. Of course, I'm talking the one that Catherine wore for her wedding would be an appropriate tiara for a young princess. It's smaller of stature, would fit well on the head. So potentially from age 15, but I doubt very much that. I think she'd be much older than 15 before she would be at an occasion that would require a tiara in public. But the Cartier halo would be a great starter tiara for any young, respectable young lady. Linda says, in a way, it was poor timing that Andrew settled because of the Jubilee. I do think Andrew was forced to settle at that time because of the Jubilee. I think you are spot on there. I don't think he should have settled. He likely would have won. I don't know if he's guilty or not, but his accuser. That's from Linda. Yeah, we don't know. I mean, everyone can speculate. Everyone has their own opinions, and of course, we've had the unsealing of all of these documents, and there was, I think, a member of Republic, the organisation in the UK that wants rid of the monarchy, contacted the police, urging them to launch an investigation into the new unsealed paper revelations. The police has already come back with the fact that nothing new has been brought to light in their opinion, and they are not taking anything further. So, my opinion is, as it always has been, I said this in the previous video, if there is evidence that comes out in these papers that is actual evidence, not circumstantial evidence, not testimonies, not allegations, actual evidence of wrongdoing, then it should be brought and a charge should be made if there is sufficient evidence to do it. And just get on with it. Just get on with it. If there is evidence, charge the people that there is evidence for, whether it's Prince Andrew or someone else. It doesn't matter. You know, there are lots of names that have been revealed in these unsealed papers. So if there's evidence, bring it. Anyone who has done wrongdoing of these very serious allegations, they should face the full force of the law if there is evidence. Any decent court or judge or jury will want real, correct, proper evidence to support any claims and allegations. If it's there, bring it. Bring it on. James Medford says Andrew should have apartments for each daughter's family. That way it's being used for more. Oh, you mean like sharing Royal Lodge, breaking it up into wings? Well, I think Beatrice and Eugenie are sorted when it comes to housing. Let's not forget they married, although not nobility, they married men that can provide. And of course, they have their own jobs as well and their own inheritances. So when I say inheritances, it's believed that they were left something from the Queen Mother's legacy. So they're not short of a bob or two, and they don't necessarily need to live at Royal Lodge. Olivia says, but who's paying for all the staff in Andrew's mansion? That is none of our business. You know, if he's got money, bearing in mind we know he hasn't had any sort of jobs or any work, or he hasn't spoken to the media, he hasn't done a book, he hasn't spoken to Oprah for money, he hasn't done any of that stuff. He's actually remained very tight-lipped and loyal to the crown, I have to say. Whereas he could go off and do this and do that for money. He must have his own private money from inheritances, from the Queen Mother's legacy. We don't know what was left from Her late Majesty's legacy. We don't know what was left from his father's legacy. But we can assume that he had something from those. So I imagine he's paying for staff and maintenance and whatever from what money he does have. We also don't know exactly where whatever the money was that he paid to settle with Virginia Giuffre. We don't know where that came from. Did that come from Her late Majesty? Did it come from savings? We don't know. That is his own personal financial situation, and you know we are not privy to that knowledge, shall we say? Lisa C. Eggleston says greetings from Tampa, Florida. Thank you very much. Cecily says starter tiara, adorable. Yeah, I mean it is a kind of baby starter tiara. If if I was Catherine, what I would do is I would find in the jewelry collection a tiara or something that hasn't really been used much, and I would break it up. I get the jewelers to break it up, and I would actually have a really elegant headband made that you could wear flat with an elegant chignon or with your hair flat and almost wear it. We've seen her wearing headbands in recent years. I actually think a diamond headband would actually be really, really adorable. Olivia says, if he's no longer a royal, then isn't that lease null and void? No, because the lease is not taken out on whether you're a royal or not. It was taken out on the person. So it's not a grace and favour. I think what you're saying is, was it a grace and favour home? No. So, for example, William and Catherine's apartment at Kensington Palace is a grace and favour home. They don't own it, whereas they own Animal Hall. So if William and Catherine were not working royals anymore, the likelihood is they would lose apartment 1A at Kensington Palace. They also um, do not own where they are currently living at Windsor. That is a grace and favour home. Whereas Harry and Meghan, Frogmore Cottage was a grace and favour home. They only had a short term lease when they stepped back and they paid back the renovation cost money. Um, Whereas Royal Lodge was a proper full time lease, it was not a grace and favour home. Also, for people wondering, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, that Bagshot Park where they live is also a lease. That's not a grace and favour home. So the Edinburghs have a lease in the same way that Andrew does, and the Edinburghs also paid renovation costs as well. S. Stafford says, I'm so fed up with the Andrew thing. Surely it's done with now. Again, I go back to my comment. If there is anything new, if there is any evidence that would support a charge, not just against Andrew, but against any of the other names mentioned, bring it. Bring it. Byron says, I think the reason Andrew settled when he did was to avoid a trial because he knew the Queen was dying. I don't think at that point he knew she was dying. I think, the family knew that she was, not likely to live, X amount of years. But I do think the timing of the Jubilee had a lot to do with it. Thank you to Lisa. Hello to Ramona from Kentucky. And hello to Lange Blanc from France. Ramona says, when King Charles III passes away, will he and the rest of his family be buried at Windsor Castle? I believe there are 2 spaces left in the George VI vault, which is where King George VI, the Queen Mother, the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, and the Queen, and Princess Margaret's ashes now reside. So I do believe that during the construction of that chapel, I think it started in the 60s, paid for by Her Majesty's own money, I think there was provision for 3 monarchs and 3 sovereigns and their partners. So it's likely that Charles and Camilla will be buried at St George's Chapel in the George VI vault. After that, I don't know where William and Catherine wish to be buried. Of course, William is more than entitled to build his own family vault if he wants to, if there is space and if he can afford to do it. Um, Otherwise, the royal burial ground at Frogmore is probably currently the likely choice for William and Catherine, unless they have something constructed. S. Stafford says, I feel sorry for Andrew. How many celebrities were accused? Yeah, I mean, this is it. There have been many people accused. and not everyone is getting the same level of public treatment. I mean, it goes to show Andrew is a member of the royal family. He's going to get a lot of attention, but we should not forget the other people that have been named as well. Lange Blanc says, any new good royal book you recommend? To be honest, I haven't done a lot of reading in recent years. I've been so busy. I would love to get back into reading. I've found a few like old information books. There are lots of really good jewelry books by a lady called Susie Menkes. Um, and I did actually kind of inherit, if you like, a friend of a friend's, a friend of a family member's, I should say, book collection, which included some books from Victorian times about the royal family. So I've got lots to get through. Sonia, oh, hello to Kizzy. Sonia says, I'd love to see Catherine with a sapphire tiara. Who knows? Who knows? Rachel says, I thought the George the Sixth Chapel owned it. No, I'm pretty certain I've read somewhere or I've seen somewhere going back in my head. I don't know where, but I'm pretty certain that when it was originally, um, I've got recollections that when it was originally planned and designed, the architect designed it for three sovereigns and their consorts, which is why Princess Margaret was cremated to have room to go in there. I'm pretty certain. I'm pretty certain. And usually, I trust my instinct. If I think I know something, even if I can't remember where it's from, it's usually correct. Lange Blanc says, yes, I have seen your Victorian. I think it was like from 1880 something. Ooh, Sungirl says, please share a word or two regarding the hashtag hot equerry. Well, swoon is most definitely the word. There's actually quite a lot of hot toddy in the royal employment as of late. Definitely the quality and standard of the higher up royal employees seen with the senior royals has definitely gotten people a little bit hot under the collar lately. There are quite a few handsome men out there, and I haven't been looking at the ladies, but you know the men. Some of them are actually quite hot. Not just Johnny Thompson. There's a few fitties out there. I have to say, swoon indeed. Diz fan says the one tiara I would have loved to have seen is the Princess of Wales in would have been the Baltimore tiara. Yes, that has now, I believe, gone from the royal family. The Baltimore tiara, I think, was one of Princess Margaret's, and I think that was sold at auction to pay death duties. So, yes, another tiara lost. Estaffer says, have you watched the latest season of The Crown? I have, and I've completed it, and I thought it was good. Obviously, all the private conversations, you don't know whether or not those were the actual words that were said, but the themes were all there. So I think it was a fairly good adaptation, but it is still fiction. Right, regarding the chapel, I will I will take a look because I'm positive that I have seen somewhere that it was commissioned for 6 people. Here we go. The chapel was, this is from the history of it. The chapel was commissioned by Queen Elizabeth II in 1962. The architects of the chapel were commissioned to design it to accommodate the remains of 3 monarchs and their consorts. Her private secretary wrote the Dean of Windsor, Robin Woods, in December 1962 with two requests. The first was that the Queen's eldest son, Prince Charles, be prepared for confirmation, and the second was that a specific resting place be found for her father following his funeral service at St George's Chapel. George's remains had been transferred to the royal vault beneath the chapel. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, three monarchs and their consorts. So we have two monarchs and their consorts currently in there, which means that there is space for a third, which is likely to be King Charles and Queen Camilla. Do I have a replica of the Strathmore Rose tiara? No, I do not. But that was one I made a video on years ago when we were kind of thinking what tiara might Meghan wear for her wedding day. And one of the ones that I mentioned was actually the Strathmore Rose tiara, knowing full well that it hadn't been seen in almost 100 years. So I was very pleasantly surprised to see it, reappear, if you like. But I'm very, very glad that it got to be worn by Catherine. Lange Blanc says, I agree. So many royal servant cuties. There most definitely is. They're everywhere. James Med4 says, off topic, they're broadcasting Ghosts UK. It's so funny. I haven't ever seen that. Amber Gordon says, hello from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. That sounds flirty. What are you and Matt? Are you and Matt coming for Mardi Gras? When are we coming? Well, we'd love to visit, but at the moment we've got our one holiday that we're going to in a week. Rachel says, thank you for clearing up the space available in the King George VI Chapel. I mean, I'd love to have a look down there myself. Can I go down and give it a good sweep? I'll go down with my Dyson. I'll get my Dyson and I'll go down. I'll volunteer for church cleaning. I'll go down into the vault and I'll get my feather duster and I'll be dusting the coffins. Oh, hello. And I will count how many spaces are available. Byron Preston says, and the ashes, yes, they are there as well, which is why she was cremated, because she wanted to be in the chapel. There wouldn't have been space otherwise. Vanessa says, hello from Kentucky. But when the chapel was originally conceived, Princess Margaret wasn't included in that. It was Princess Margaret's bequest that she be cremated and placed in there. The provision wasn't made for her, if that makes sense. Rachel was trying to be silly but failed. I think you did, my love. James Heinzman says, poor Margaret couldn't have any. Well, she got cremated. She's in there. It's fine. It's fine. She got in there. It's fine. Right, how long have I been yakking at you poor people for? 78 minutes. Right, unless we've got any real pressing issues, I am going to love you and leave you. So thank you for joining me for this live chat. Now, after this live chat goes out, I don't know what I'm doing with the video. We'll see. I need to sort of figure out how to get it ready for when I'm on the cruise. So this is like a test run, if you like. So thank you for watching. As always, please like and share and subscribe. If you're watching on catch up, leave a comment as well. So thank you for joining me. And well, I think we've got a few comments coming in. People saying enjoy the holiday. Yes, I got to see the chapel as well in St George's. Not inside it. You get to see the grill and you can see where the stone is. Anyway, thank you. I am going now. So as always, if you've enjoyed it, please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media so that people are aware of this video and aware of me because YouTube doesn't always push the videos out. So it really does help if you share on social media. So from me, probably the next time I see you during any kind of live will be on the ship. I'll probably do out a pre-recorded video before I go as well. So from me, mwah, to you all, and goodbye.